In this movie, we'll take a look at collaborating between loops and arrays and vectors. Let's start off by opening up our Actions panel. And first we'll define an array. So we'll write var, we'll call it my array. It's of type array, set it equal to a new array. This should all seem very familiar. And then within a set of parentheses, I'll write the list I want to be included inside this array. I'll make it an array of numbers just for simplicity. Make the first element be 6, comma, then I don't know, 9, comma, 12, comma, minus 10, comma, 989, comma, and maybe add in a 50 and let's sum it up by a 0. Okay, let's say I wanted to trace all of these elements each on a separate line. If I simply write trace my array, then it will trace all the elements on the same line separated by commas. But I don't want that. I want each one to be on a separate line. So I can also write trace my array, then 0, then copy this line again, and paste it for each element I want, and simply change the index. But what if I had a really long array composed of hundreds and maybe thousands of elements? I can simply write the trace statement 100 or 1,000 times. There is a quicker way of doing that, which is by using loops. Let's try first by using the for loop. So for, set of parentheses and then a set of braces. And if we remember, first I need to initiate my counter, which we usually call I. So var I, it's of type integer, set it equal to let's say 0. Oops, sorry, 0. And then a semicolon, and the condition is that as long as I is less than the number of elements, or less than or equal to the number of elements of my array, which are 0 for the 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So as long as I is less than or equal to 6, then a semicolon, then I want to increment I by 1. So I plus plus. And inside here, for each I will trace the element of the array of index I. So we'll trace my array, and then within square brackets write I. So what's going on here? First, I is equal to 0. 0 is less than or equal to 6. So my array 0. The element of my array of index 0 is 6. So 6 will be traced. Then I will be incremented by 1. Now I is equal to 1. 1 is still less than or equal to 6. So my array of index 1 will be traced, which is 9, and so on until I is equal to 6, or I is equal to 7. I is equal to 7. 7 is no longer less than or equal to 6, so it won't be traced. So the greatest index that will be traced is 6, which is 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the last element that will be traced is 0. Let's test it out. Control Enter. And pretty much this is my array being traced on each element on an individual line. Okay, so far so good. It's not limited to only this. I can even make an addition. So trace my array plus my array of index I mean, plus, let's copy this piece of code, paste it here, my array of index I plus 1. But now I need to decrease the upper bound of I by 5, because now I plus 1 is equal to 6, so the greatest element that will be traced will be of index 6, which is 0. Let's test it out. Control Enter. And here we have that each element each element being traced is the addition of the first element and the second one. 6 plus 9 is equal to 15, 9 plus 12 is equal to 29, and so on. I can even add text here. So what if I wanted to say, in between quotations, the element of my array which has an index of, and then space, and then end of quotation. Now we add plus I plus, and here we want to, now the element of my array which has, I'm sorry, of my array without spacing, which has an index of, let's say 0 here will be, is, so open quotations, space is, and then space, and then close quotations, and then plus my array of index I, and then semicolon to end your, there already is a semicolon, control enter. Then we have the element of my array which has an index of 0 is 6, which is true. Element of my array which has an index of 1 is 9, and so on until we get to 60. But there's a mistake here. I should have increased this back to 6. And now we can see that the final element of my array, which has an index of 6, is 0. It has been traced. Okay, so far so good. We're on to good progress here. Similarly, we can do this with the while loop, the do while loop. And you know what, let's do a quick example using the while loop. Let's first initiate a variable, AR, I. It's going to be an integer equal to 0 at first. Now instead of for, we write while. Delete all this. I is less than or equal to 6. Then trace the element of a, okay. And now we do I plus plus, semicolon to end your statement, and then control enter to test. And pretty much the same element, the same output. We have the same result as we did with the for loop. And the do while loop is a little bit different. Let's cut this, paste here. Now here we write do, and then trace the element of my array which has an order of I is, and then I plus plus while I less than or equal to 6. Test it out. Oops, sorry about that. Test it out. We have the same result, but if I had, let's say, I initially equal to, I don't know, 9. 9 is obviously greater than 6, so the condition is false, but this statement will still execute because it does what you want it to do and then it checks for the condition. But the greatest index of my array is 6. So what will happen here? We don't have an element in my array of index 9. Let's see, control enter, is undefined since there is no element in my array of index 9. So the element of index 9 is undefined, which is similar to what we had when we deleted elements of my array using the delete statement. So that's how you use loops with arrays. Okay, let's try doing the same thing now, but with a vector instead. So instead of my array, we'll call it my vector. It's going to be, if we remember how to declare a vector dot, and then we open up our angle bracket. It's going to be, this vector is going to contain integers, so int, and set it equal to a new vector dot, again open up your angle bracket, or I believe it did it for us, so new vector dot integer. Now I'm going to put in some elements in my vector, so my vector
and then within square brackets 0, set it equal to 7, semicolon, copy this piece of code, paste 2, 3, 4, 5. One of index 1 will be equal to, say, 8. Then the one of index 2 will be equal to, say, 90, semicolon. Index 3 will be equal to 78. One of index 4, set it equal to 56. Then the one of index 5 will set it equal to 12, semicolon. Now we'll define I. Initially it will be at 0. And let's use the do while we're at it. The element of my vector, which has an index of I, is my vector. And then it has 5. The highest index is 5, so while I is less than or equal to 5. Control enter to test. And there we have it. The elements of my vector, which has an index of 0, is 7, 1 is 2, and so on until 5. Simply I'll do a quick example for the for loop as well. So for, copy this or cut this and then paste it here. I less than or equal to 5. And you know what? I wish I shouldn't have done that. For I less than or equal to 5, semicolon, and then I plus plus. And do this, trace this element, and we don't need this. On this, that's our movie. And here we have all the elements of my vector has been traced, each one on an individual line. Okay, so hope this gives you an idea on how to combine between vectors, arrays, and loops.